Hi Hak, I want to welcome you today. Really good for you to be here. Would you mind just introducing yourself for our audience at home?
Sure, yeah, I'm Hak Salih. Professional background is as an investor on the stock market for 20 years. I left that in 2012 to follow my core passion, which is innovation, change and technology. And it's something that I'd always done and followed throughout my whole career, and I wanted to focus on it full time, which I've done now for the last 2 years, research lots of very interesting things. And what I also do now is that I mentor both individuals, not-for-profits, and also companies, SMEs. And also I focus a lot of my technology expertise and time on building the ecosystem within the healthcare sector.
Wow, so a long career. Mm-hmm. You so you had a long career, and if I understand, you're very proficient in your area of expertise. And then to make these big changes, to take your life onto the next level and move out, I can imagine there were certain concerns about taking those steps, being used to it. What would be your main impetus? What was your main inspiration for that, and how did it come about?
Okay. Well, I suppose the key thing is, by being an investor, you see risk all the time. You have to be aware of risk the whole time. So I was sort of more comfortable with risk and taking risk, I suppose, than perhaps others. But also, I was also, by being an investor over 20 years, you've seen so much change. You've seen stars fall, you've seen the fallen become stars. So actually you realise that any point in time is not representative of where you can be in 5 years' time. And to be honest, I'd got bored, and I wanted to follow those core passions of mine that were, after 20 years, they weren't being fed enough. And so I decided to focus on it full time and make a difference, but make a difference in a different way.
Yeah, so it wasn't so much it was more of a pull. It wasn't kind of, I've had enough of this, I want out. It's actually, I want something new, something more relevant to me that reflects who I am. Yeah. And then you took those steps.
Yeah, it was more of a pull, because that watching brief in my spare time, when you get the odd hour a month on innovation, technology and change, I saw people over time build things, create things, make a difference. And after a while it just calls you more, and you want to be there rather than over here. It's like being at home and it's a sunny day, and do you want to do your homework, or do you want to go out and play with the kids? Well, eventually you say, forget the homework. Yeah, exactly. And I've had enough this week.
Well, there's only so much spectating you can do. And I suppose at some point you want to kind of get into the game, roll your sleeves up and be part of it. One of the things that I'm quite aware of at the moment, and a lot of business owners out there are kind of almost startled in the headlights in terms of there's so much information now. There is so many different views and different opinions on what's working, what isn't. How would you... I don't know, not advice, but what would be your take on how you can make the most of that, rather than be, startled by it or frozen by that amount of opportunity? What would you say about that?
Well, I think, from a business perspective, the key for me is, and always has been as an investor, is that you've got to have focus. What's the problem that allows you to exist, that you've solved? What is the problem that you're out there to solve? And if you focus on that, then actually a lot of the white noise, the over-information, you'll be able to prioritise away, because you say, well, actually, this is not relevant. So, for example, if the problem you're trying to solve in a village is you're the only hairdresser, right, and you're very good at it, and you've solved that problem and you're earning a nice income out of it, actually, those emails to do with offers on, discounted on a car, or offers about other products that got nothing to do with your core expertise, or actually do with your customers' interests, because you always got to focus on how your customers are changing and what turns them on to keep a connection with them. You can just discard those. So it's a bit like discarding the junk mail. So
it's almost like a process of elimination. It's actually, if it's relevant, it's almost like having a torch in a dark room. Because when you're that focused, everything else kind of disappears as opposed to. But when you're not focused, and you're not sure really what is your calling, or who you are and what's important to you, that I imagine leaves a lot of people unsettled.
Yeah, and on that that's a great analogy, is that people often, they're in business for a while, and they actually forget that they actually have the torch. They've had it there all along and can switch it on. And that torch was there at the beginning, which was actually, there's a problem I need to solve, and I'm going to go out and do it. And that created their business. And they then lose their way, and they forget that torch is always in the back pocket. They can always switch it on and find that focus again. So, for example, Tesco's is a classic case of a business that massively lost its focus. Tesco's was set up as a food retailer. Tesco's was very successful as a food retailer. Tesco focused its expertise on being the best food retailer, and as it grew through time, it became the smallest to the biggest. It also innovated. So it brought us fresh food all year round. It brought us convenience stores across high streets. And then it lost its way. They switched off the light. They lost their way. They sold you tyres. What the hell is Tesco selling you tyres? Different if they were selling tyres in a Tesco superstore. No, it was all done online. You buy the tyre online, they come and do it to your home. Tesco sold you mobile phones, Tesco sold you broadband, Tesco sold you books, Tesco sold you stores. They sold you so much stuff.
So on that note,
and they lost, which is why they're in the problems they're in, because they completely lost their focus.
If we take sort of an international brand like Tesco, and then we kind of as an owner operator of an SME or a small business, and you look at those lessons, I mean, you could go and look at your offering and say, where have we diluted our offering? Where have we lost our confidence maybe? Or where have we got, because the opportunity is there, do you necessarily have to take it?
Yeah.
I just want to rewind back a little bit. And some area that I'm quite passionate about, quite interested, is vision. What is the vision? What's the context for the business? What are we, it's not just what problem do we solve in terms of what we do, but what feeds us the most.
Yeah.
So imagine, go back to our hairdresser in the village on their own. We don't want to name the village because I think they've got four more hairdressers in no time. But essentially, is how does that make me feel as a service provider, as someone that's solving other people's problems or adding value to their lives? When when I deliver my product, the value, one, you get paid.
Yeah.
That money probably doesn't last that long. You pay bills, you know, do all the things you have to do. But actually, it feeds you, it nurtures you. And I think in some ways you're alluding to that in your past career. Is it come to a point where the income and the part of being part of it wasn't enough for you anymore, and it was about feeding your higher sense of who you were, maybe your passion, and kind of drawing out the best in you. You know, when it doesn't matter to you anymore, you don't care. It's hard to do it really well. And now, I guess with competition and the amount of people in your market, if you're not doing something you really love and doing it well, you're going to get left behind really quickly. And that's what I'm finding. So I've kind of answered the question in that statement, but
it's very true. I mean, when we tend to live our lives in a very narrow subset of people that we socialise with, area we live in, etc., and we then judge everything against that. No one else in my universe of that village has moved job or made it a success, or has done this, or has taken a career that everyone thinks is really wacky. So therefore, it's too risky, it's not done. Social
outside
pressure,
the comfort zones.
Yeah, so we don't do it. Yeah. But actually, if you look broader at the other 8 billion people in the world, you see that actually there are people who have nothing and they are happier than everybody that's walking down the street right now. And it's not because it's sunny and here's great. There are people that have made changes, all sorts of changes in their lives and careers, and are happy. There are so many different things that can make you happy. And so I think that people sometimes have to come back to actually what is it that makes me human and makes me happy, rather than what is often the case, what do I need to make society happy? And that society is your friends, family, etc.
Your local community.
I mean, how many people become a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer because their parents said it's a good job to have?
Yeah. I know many people like that.
And then 20 years later,
they're leaving.
I want out, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not really what I want. And I'm 40, I'm going to die in 20 years, so I want to do something now that I want to do.
And I think that's a real valid thing, because that's the case for some people owning and running their businesses, and people that are in corporate or have gone through the academic route to their careers, is actually their field becomes narrower and narrower, and they feel trapped in that. Yeah. And one of the things that in a series of videos is about really kind of getting people to see what opportunities that maybe are off their normal radar, not on their runway at the moment, get them exposed to these ideas. Yeah. And on that note, the future. I know it's a big, broad subject, and I sent you the questions originally. What do we need to be thinking about? You know, whether it's career, whether we're in a job or we're running our own business. What is it we need to be thinking about? What changes are coming? I did say peril. I did ask peril or opportunity, but maybe we just stick with opportunity. Yeah. What exciting new things are you seeing that are going to be impacting our lives in not too distant future? That's
a separate conference. There is so much going on, and it's hard to work out what's relevant for the particular audience. But I suppose one key sort of overarching thing is that we live in a world now where information is flat. And by that what I mean is that whatever scientific invention, whatever leading edge knowledge happens in one country is immediately available 5 minutes later around the rest of the world. So the Americans created Amazon. The Indians have their own Amazon. South Korea has its own Amazon. Would those have happened without the knowledge that, oh, there's this thing called Amazon and I can follow the business model and it's a great idea? So that sort of ability to copy things quickly around the world means that you're operating in a very competitive space because the information is flat and free. What it does mean, though, the opportunity is that if you are in something that is more local, like a hairdresser or a local mechanic, for example, actually the competition and the competitive set hasn't actually changed that much because your customers aren't going to go to India or Korea or China to get their car repaired or their hair cut. So that local is still okay. However, if you're a computer programmer or a coder and you're in the UK, well, actually, as a customer, if you're not cheap enough, if you're not good enough, actually, I can get somebody from China, somewhere else. So some industries and businesses are becoming far more globally competitive up here. And so the price goes down, but the quality to the customer goes up. And then there's these other ones beneath that will always be needed. So those actually, you could argue, are fantastic franchises because no matter what is going on up here, people will still need to buy food,
that's really
get a
encouraging.
haircut, etc.
That's really encouraging. And also, I mean, there does seem to appear, especially in retail or service-driven businesses, an oversupply. And it's very, the experience that a lot of, say, accountants and, service providers in professional or non-professional, well, non-academic driven professions, is that there's a lot of competition. How do you differentiate? And I think going back to the thing you were saying earlier, the biggest thing is actually find the thing that inspires you the most, talk about that, share that, attract those people who value that, and you'll be happy. Your customers will get outstanding service because there's no competing with someone that loves doing what they do and they do it really well. You can't compete, they can't be copied as easily. So that's a really encouraging thing to hear.
If you use the example of, you go to your accountant, and there are those who chose accountancy because they wanted a boring, safe, secure life. And funnily enough, when you go meet them as an accountant, he goes, yeah, I'll do this for you. Thank you very much. And at the end of the year, I'll send you a bill. And that's it. And then you go to the other accountant who's actually turned on by being an accountant, not necessarily by the role of signing off the accounts every year, but actually the whole thing about numbers and how numbers feed through to the outcomes for a business and how numbers are crucial in terms of delivering your cash so that you actually still have a business going forward,
and also it's a feedback model to the value. I mean, it's a bit like, I suppose, like crowdfunding or putting something out on the market. If people don't buy it, then that's a good indication of what they want. So your numbers are a real reflection of your vision landing, because if people go, wow, those numbers are now reflecting that demand.
But that accountant who loves what he's doing, it'll come across, because then when he talks to you about his business, about your business, he will want to understand your business because he'll want to understand what really drives it, and he'll feed back to you that, actually, similar clients elsewhere, if you do this to your business, you can do this, you can add value, rather than a guy who just says, I'll just take the output, fill it in the spreadsheet and sign it off to taxman. The other guy will actually understand because he loves it. He'll understand and he'll try to help you.
And
that's the kind of accountant you want on site.
No, exactly. So you almost got yourself a finance director supporting you at the level you need to take your business to the next level.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for your time today, Hak. It's been really interesting.
Pleasure.
Is there anything you want to leave us last word? Because we kind of talked about a lot of things prior to today, but
last paragraph.
Last paragraph, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously these videos have been brought via B Collaboration and our community of stable of specialists and experts. And I hope you're not too bashful of talent. And we want to share your views and give people something to think about. We're not dictating here, but we're kind of sharing some ideas.
Well, the sort of the two areas of expertise that I have is that one is a view on the world in terms of what's going on with the economies, and we could spend a lot of time there about the coming crunch that's coming in 2 or 3 years' time in Japan, in Europe, and how it affects currencies, how it affects people financially. That's one area of expertise. The other area of expertise, which I deem to be sort of the more exciting one, that really brings call to action, because people don't like talking about money and bad news and that kind of stuff. They like to be excited. That's the way we work as human beings. And so it's the whole thing about technology. There is so much coming down the line that will impact, and I've seen it firsthand, will impact society over the next 5 to 10 years. And it varies from things like the stuff that we don't really have to be worried about that much, but will make our life a lot easier. Things like 3D printing, self-driving cars, the whole excitement around healthcare, the personalization of medicine, the consumerization of healthcare and wellness is fantastic. What will we be able to do with wearables? Then down onto some of the more difficult for society and for people to sort of accept and work their ways around with things like synthetic biology. So, for example, right now in the US, they grow silk, the proteins for silk from spiders, but they don't grow it in spiders, they grow it in goat's milk. Mm-hmm. And so they are producing silk from goat's milk. That's synthetic biology. It's playing around with animals and human beings, biology. But also what's coming down the line in terms of genomics and genetics and our expertise there is that biology is being translated into software. So actually, in 20 years' time, it's not inconceivable that we will program biological things that we want to happen, or outcomes, like an enzyme that digests your jacket so that you don't have to throw it away. And you'll do that with software. And some of that stuff's already happening. And there's a whole other bunch of stuff, nanotechnology and all the rest of it, which I'd love to share with the B Collaboration members. And in fact, the event in January, I will hope to share some of it. And that might inspire others to give up what they're doing
and look at
and follow something else. Because it's like, the guys who were at the beginning of mobile phones, the guys who were at the beginning of the internet, the guys who were at the beginning of some of the biology stuff that went on, biotech, and they all go, oh yeah, but those were, we missed those. Those were one-off big things. There's nothing else.
Nothing ever coming again.
It's complete rubbish.
There's loads.
There is so much coming, so many different areas of our life. And the other thing is the ability to take those inventions and creations global is there now that it wasn't before. I mean, before, if you were a successful IT business, your market was the UK. Now it's global. So your ability to become much bigger, much, much faster. And that's why there's so much money wealth being created, because you're able to scale much, much faster. And again, I mean, that can inspire the next generation. And by inspiring, you also get change.
I'm just actually thinking what a great time for our children to be growing up, and having this kind of information being given to them. And wherever you are, the time is now, there's opportunity, things are changing.
But with our children, though, the key thing is that we must stop teaching them the past and setting them up educationally wise for the past, what worked in the past. The future is very different. And actually the parents with foresight are preparing their children for the future. So it's like the parents who are teaching their children sciences, say for example, girls which don't tend to be encouraged to do science, or teaching them computer programming, or teaching them biology, or teaching them Chinese. These global changes, some parents are preparing for it, but they're having to do it outside the educational system. Because unfortunately the educational system is still about the past. This is what worked in the past, You did everything in your head. You had to learn hundreds of years worth of history. You had to spend all your time on geography and all this kind of... You need to have a sense of those from a perspective. But you can get all the facts these days just with your phone, with Siri. And that will only get more and more easy going forward. So actually what you've got to teach is you've got to teach people to be creative, not be worried about change, to welcome change, to view change as an opportunity, and to focus on the industries of the future rather than the industries of the past. So for example, what's happening with artificial intelligence will strip out lots of doctors, and they hate this. It will strip out lots of accountants. It will strip out lots of finance people. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, that's up to society.
Can we stop it? Can we stop it?
You will not be able to stop it.
On that note, Hak, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.